There is a subtle beauty to silence. When things are quiet, it's easier to pick up on the smaller details. The rustling leaves and dry grass of autumn give way to a silent stillness. A cold, pale blanket of snow covers the land and dampens the sound. From this sort of soft silence, we'll call it, is a feeling of time frozen over. Frozen over like the ice on a lake, or the once melted snow now turned into ice on a plant. All is firm, nothing really changes. For a brief moment, one can breathe and not really feel anything. For just a tiny moment, there is silence. For a moment, there was winter. As humans, we've convinced ourselves that we are different from the nature we are born from, and as such, we think we respond to the external world as something foreign. How could I be from the world? It looks nothing like me. I'm structured, I'm organized, I do things of my own free will, said the man whilst eating a tasty breakfast before he showered. He doesn't realize, of course, that he is just as wiggly and unorganized as everything else. Because he is everything else. There is no separation there, only a lie. And that is a fascinating thing. This kind of thought extends to winter. Well, other animals hibernate, but I've got a job to do, so I best put in my suit and tie and get to it. But really, we all want to stay home during a fine winter day and cuddle under the sheets and stay warm. We're far less likely to go on walks or even go outside at all. Our bodies, consciously or not, do not care for the extreme cold, yet I find that fascinating. You see, for all this talk of how in tune with nature we really are, I have yet to explain one thing to myself. Do the animals love winter just as much as I do? Does a fox leave her burrow just to enjoy the silence of the winter forest? Do the birds enjoy being able to see the forest floor from above now that all the leaves are gone? Do the fish enjoy hanging out at the bottom of the river away from the external predators that might be outside of the water? Do the plants feel the cold air and the snow on them in the same way that I do? With all of this, I can't help but think that I must be different in nature in this regard. A fox very likely lacks the necessary brain parts to experience a joy from a winter's breeze, and a fish certainly doesn't care about the breeze on account of the fact that it's a fish. All of this is to demonstrate that even I, someone who likes to believe that he has come out of this world, not into it, cannot get away from the desire to be different from nature. To be different from what is around me is to be, well, myself. How can I be myself if I'm just like everything else? Let me explain this a little bit better. A couple years ago, I moved from Illinois to California. California, for all of its beauty, does not get what I would call a real winter. Illinois gets as cold as -10 degrees, up to as 90 or more in the summer. California, while it gets hot, certainly doesn't reach that same level of cold, not where I live at least. Each winter out here, I am reminded of how much I miss the snow, how much I miss being able to go outside in my hometown and just listen to the silence. And I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but really think about it. If you've ever lived in a town where it gets cold enough to snow, you'll know just what I mean. I enjoy that silence. I don't care much for the cold, but I do love the peace and stillness that comes in the winter months. I think the average person in the 21st century has way too much going on at any given time. We've got financial hardships, rising political tensions, and the economic uncertainty that we're all feeling. Many young people feel hopeless about the economy and the world, and many people are getting angry about it. As of 2025, we have arguably one of the most divisive presidents in our history, and the political rhetoric is reaching new boiling points every day. So, as we approach winter, let's try to appreciate the silence that it brings. When each day is filled with another murder, another bombing, another innocent person harmed, another failed piece of legislation being forced through, take a moment to enjoy the snow. Take a moment to enjoy the stillness of the world around you. Vintage story, yeah, that's right, this is still a Vintage Story video, is a game that gives me that same still feeling that a winter day used to give me back in Illinois. Many features of the game force the player to stop, think, and consider. The game, of course, features 4 seasons. Winter is always coming, and I find that with each winter I live through, the more I enjoy it. My first winter was filled with panic and worry. Will I have enough food? Will my chickens be okay? But after a while, you kinda learn to just let that go. You make a greenhouse, harvest what you can, and feed your livestock just enough to make it out alive. Being outside too long without proper clothing means freezing to death, so taking a moment or two to just kind of chill out inside, make some pottery, or cook some nice meals is a great way to pass the time. But winter generally means less busy work, and I'm much less likely to explore due to the cold, so that means I have more free time in a game that I play when I have free time. This allows me to walk across the nearby frozen lake and just chill in a forest, observe the foliage and what wildlife is poking around to find whatever food they can. I immensely enjoy this. Taking a small day trip to just sort of go on a virtual hike is really fun, or even staying at home riffing around my handbook to learn some new things is also fun. And because of this, I love winter, and I want to talk about what winter is in Vintage Story, and I think at its core, it's a time of reflection. The year is ending and a new year is coming. It's easy to look back and reflect on decisions made in the previous year. How far have I come? How far will I go? Did I spend too much time skipping rocks instead of getting food? I happen to be lucky enough to be born in November, which means that my parents definitely celebrated Valentine's Day, but it also means that I get to reflect on the past year just as much as I get to reflect on myself and what I've done in the past year of my life. Did I do what I wanted to do this year? When I set out to achieve a generic New Year's goal of going to the gym more, did I do it? No. But hey, I did get a pull-up bar for my apartment though. That counts as something, and it's fun to use, and it was free, so even better. In Vintage Story, I can feel this in a similar way. Instead of reflecting on myself or real-life goals or stressors, I get to focus on simpler goals. I get to remember how much I accomplished in this virtual world in my first year. I spend a little more time looking over my map and seeing all the places I've explored. I take the time to look around my little homestead and look back on old screenshots to see how much has changed since I started. I can see that I'm, for the most part, still wearing the same clothes that I spawned with, now in terrible condition and unable to give me any warmth against the cold winter winds. I think it's a lot of fun to reflect on my past experiences in this game. I still have things to do, like tending to my few surviving crops in the greenhouse or making sure that my chickens have some food, but it all feels less involved. I found it much easier to just hang around and work my forage. I have no real desire to explore all that much since the cold means I'm basically on a very strict time limit before I have to hunker down and make a fire. The most exploring I did was to sell a cracked pot that I got from a ruin. And by the way, if you ever want to make a lot of money in Vintage Story, just choose the Malefactor class. It genuinely is your best shot. Anyway, as I forge each iron chain so that I can make slightly better armor than what I'm currently using, it's easy to think about what's coming to me in my future, whether it be in the game or in the real world. I'm starting college again very soon after years of taking a break. I've got a new job that I'm adjusting to, and life is changing rapidly. I have a lot going on, and the winter in Vintage Story gives me a small chance not only to calm my mind, but also reflect on what I've been doing and think of solutions to problems that currently face me. That I face. Whoops. And if I don't really feel like being reflective, I can always run to a cave and give myself hypertension. That's always an option. I like to dabble in Eastern philosophy from time to time, mainly through Alan Watts. If you've seen my Breath of the Wild retrospective, you'll know that I'm a huge fan of Watts. I think he had a wonderful way of explaining Eastern philosophy to a Western audience. The point of me bringing him up is that I think if he were part of a younger generation and didn't die in the 70s, he likely would really enjoy Vintage Story. A game where players are immersed in nature, totally grounded in realism, but still fictional enough in its themes that you can kind of suspend your disbelief. If you approach Vintage Story from the point of view of some kind of Eastern philosophy, some kind of Taoism and alike, you might find that the game does a stunningly good job of allowing you to feel one with its world. I think most people would call this Zen, but I hesitate to give Zen any specific definition. I think it really varies person to person, and not to mention that at any moment, depending on how you're playing Vintage Story, that Zen could turn into sheer panic depending on what's around you. But if you want to experience Zen in a world totally unlike our own, might I recommend today's sponsor, my own Minecraft server. Elysium Isles is a survival multiplayer server featuring a world of floating islands made by my staff team. None of the islands here are generated by a data pack. They're all made either by hand or with World Edit. If you like exploring, there's tons of ruins with custom vaults that can be opened using a simple stick. If you explore enough, you might stumble into a dungeon with custom trial spawners, vaults, puzzles, and boss fights. The world itself houses tons of unique materials to grind for. We added copper tools to the game before Mojang did. We've also reworked how things in vanilla are obtained, like iron, making the server just a little bit harder. For example, players start with only 3 hearts, making the world feel oppressive. As you craft armor though, the armor will increase your max health. Right now, we're currently working on making a more fleshed out NPC system so that players can enter towns, have conversations with villagers, and complete quests. If you like a good challenge and want to join a server with something truly unique, then check out the link to the Discord server in the description and the pinned comment. Elysium Isles is not pay to win, we never use loot boxes, and it's always community focused. Join the early access server now to give us feedback and improve the server before we hit that big release in the future. I think bliss is a really good word to describe how this game makes me feel. However, I think it's a little bit more complicated than that. Bliss almost implies some level of happiness or joy. I don't really feel that as I'm sitting around in the cold. I don't always feel that as I slowly crawl across landscapes listening to the snow crunch beneath my feet. I often feel more focused, and that's the other thing I want to, focus on. All while I'm talking about how the winter allows me to disconnect from the real world problems or to reflect on what's happened to me, I don't find that I'm blissful or carefree about it. I find that I'm extremely focused. Perhaps that is my form of bliss, but I find it funny that instead of feeling content or blissful in this kind of calm stillness, I instead become extremely focused on whatever is on my mind. If I'm mindlessly smacking iron with a hammer, I might be really focusing on like my new job and what I need to do there, or maybe doing more things around the house. The point is, it's a time to reflect, sure, but for me at least, it's not an easy reflection. It's not hard, of course, but it takes energy to think. That's why I sometimes find it easier just to turn on a podcast and listen to God Please Anything to distract me from whatever messed up thing is happening in the news that day. I can shut my brain off if I need to, but I can also choose to focus in a way that's not possible during the other seasons of the game. In the spring, I'm focusing on planting new crops, exploring new areas, finding more resources, and progressing. In the summer, perhaps I'm moving forward in the story, tending to even more crops, or gathering lots of firewood for the upcoming winter. And in the fall, I'm doing whatever last-minute activities I can before the cold sets in. Any last-minute exploring, farming, or even mining that I want to get done gets done before the snow comes so that I don't have to risk traveling far in the winter. I'm sure I can make some more clothes or even migrate south during the winter to ensure that I'm still able to be productive during the cold season, but I find that to be a bit counterproductive, honestly. The whole reason I play Vintage Story is because it's grounded in an extremely immersive world. If I'm migrating away from the cold to avoid winter, that's got its own level of immersion and realism to it, but I think I'd rather tough out the winter in my little homestead. After all, I wouldn't want my chickens to starve. I can't really take them with me. All of these factors add up to an experience that I've never felt in any other video game. I would say that Stardew Valley, whack transition there, sorry, can kind of bring about a similar feeling during its winter. It certainly isn't as immersive as Vintage Story, but there is a similar stillness to its winter. You can't grow crops without a greenhouse, there's not as much things to go out and find and resources to collect, and the world just seems to stop for a little while. It's very interesting to me that this feeling of stillness can be captured by so many different artists across different genres of games. Something I love about Minecraft Bedrock Edition is that in cold taiga biomes, when it snows, their leaves turn from their dark green color to white to show the snow gathering on the leaves. I love this feature. I've always wished it would come over to the Java edition. Something about it really helps enhance that feeling of winter in a game that doesn't even have seasons. It's really interesting to me that a game without winter can still invoke the same feelings of winter. In Minecraft, there are no years, so there isn't really any time to reflect on the events of the year or think about what you do in the next one, but for some reason, I still feel that stillness and reflective bliss. And I have to wonder, why is that? In a game with no seasons, how can it do the same thing as another game with seasons? What is it about winter specifically that makes me reflect and ponder my past or future actions, or make me stop and appreciate the stillness of now? Well, the answer is honestly pretty obvious. It's fucking cold outside. No, really, that's it. That is the source of all of this, in my opinion. Because of the dropped temperature, the world slows down. People aren't going to go to the beach or hang out at the local park nearly as much when it's freezing outside. We instead stay at home by ourselves or with our families. Outside activities are stifled due to the ever-pervasive time limit known as frostbite. In the same way that you will stay inside during the winter, so too do many animals. Many animals will just sleep through the winter, storing fat in their bodies in the fall because food runs low and plants die. Squirrels will bury nuts throughout the year so they have something to eat during the winter. It's not just us humans that slow down, but everything around us. Flowers aren't growing, the birds may not fly as often because the air is fucking cold, but my point is that the cold naturally invites us inward toward ourselves. Our body's main source of heat doesn't come from our fingertips, but lies around our central organs. That naturally draws us into our own centers in a very physical way. On a larger level, we are drawn inward to our own homes, leaving less often. We are drawn under the blankets where we can snuggle up and watch a movie while mom makes hot cocoa or something, you know? In Vintage Story, there isn't hot cocoa yet, probably a mod out there honestly, but as I've demonstrated, that feeling of stillness is there all the same. You can hang out, just make some pottery, cook a couple good meals, maybe smith a few things, and you'll get that blissful feeling if you just fully allow yourself to be immersed in this world. I'd be curious to know how you guys handle winter in video games. What are some games that do a really good job of conveying that stillness of winter? Honestly, like Celeste comes to mind. It's just a really cold mountain where time seems to have stopped entirely. It's quite the interesting setting for a game. But I think that's going to be it for today's video. I know it's a little bit weird, a little bit more philosophical than some of the other stuff I've done, but regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. As I said earlier, I am starting at school again soon, so my schedule is probably going to be a bit more full than it is right now, but I will do my best to make content as much as possible. I'm really enjoying making videos on Vintage Story, and I think that you guys are enjoying it as well. Anyway, make sure you like, subscribe, and become a member. It's only $3 a month, and you get a lot of my videos early, as well as some member-exclusive videos too, like me going through all my different versions of Uno. I have like 21 of them now. Jesus Christ. Anyway, that's it. See ya.